Hello. Not too long ago, I created a pretty cool application that lets the user text a phone number and get a response back with a BoJack Horseman quote. It's pretty neat. Showed some friends. They seem to like it. So I want to do a quick video to show you how you can also do it. It's very easy using Twilio and Amazon Web Services to make an interactive application via text message. It's just another way to reach out to our users, and it's not dependent on what type of phone they have or them having an internet connection, etc. So to get started, the first thing you need to do is get a Twilio account and an Amazon Web Services account. So go ahead and go get those. Great. Now that you have those, go into Twilio and find the phone number section and buy a number. So this number is pretty cheap. It just costs you $1 a month. Your text messaging rates are pretty cheap there. For playing around, usually they just had me put in 20 bucks when I signed up, and then it's just been deducting since then. I haven't even recharged it yet. So it's a pretty good deal. Now for the phone number, you can of course search by number. I'm going to search by location since I like this doing BoJack stuff. I'm going to search Hollywood there. Looks like we got some Hollywood. Do a search. All right, so we got several different pieces here. Well, I want the Beverly Hills number, of course. So I'm going to go ahead and buy the number in Beverly Hills. As you can see, it's $1 a month. Very easy. Click buy. Okay, this number has all these capabilities: voice, fax, SMS, MMS. We really don't care about the voice or fax right now. Really care about the SMS. We can use MMS if we want. It does cost a little bit more, but for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm just going to send back text, so this is fine. So go ahead and buy this number. All right, so now we can go to the number setup. You notice here in the number setup in this messaging, and it says when a message comes in, call a webhook. This is how you interact Twilio with external services. So once somebody texts this phone number, it's going to take that text message along with a bunch of other data, and it's going to post it to this particular URL. So now we need to jump over to Amazon to set up our API gateway and other functions to receive this post and process it, and then we will use the Twilio API to call back so we can actually send a message back to that. So let's go ahead and jump over into Amazon Web Services. Now, just a little overview. With Amazon Web Services, we're going to use several of their functions. We're going to use, of course, the API gateway. That's where the call comes into. That, in turn, is going to call a Lambda function. Lambda is Amazon's way of calling code on demand. So it'll be a quick Node.js application that runs when a post happens. It's going to log it. Now, what I like to do is create a lot of little microservices, and where they do one small thing, and then they kind of use the simple notification service to handle the messaging in between. So it's very much using the messaging service and coming back. So what we need to do is we've got to have set up some simple notification service topics to be ready to catch our information. In addition to that, one of the things I like to do is when a user texts, I just don't want to send back a generic text. I send back and ask them for their name. And then I save that name in a Dynamo DB. So that way when they text back again, I know I can make a customized message back and I can use their name. In addition to this example will show you how you can save information provided by people via text and how to move them through your state engine so you can keep track of what their reply means. In addition to that, we've got our IAM roles. This is kind of the overall roles, which has the rules of what each service is allowed to talk to. We're going to have to set up a couple of those for our Lambda functions in order to process correctly. So to start, let's go ahead and create our simple notification service topics so we can get them ready. Create a topic's pretty straightforward. You just jump into the system here, you click create topic. All right, your topic name. So the first topic we're going to create is to Twilio. So actually, you know what? Take that back. Let's create the from Twilio to start with. Not that it matters, but this is going to be in the order of how the operations go. So when a post comes in, we're going to have a Lambda. It's going to go through the API gateway. It's going to go to a Lambda. That Lambda is going to put that post onto this topic. So we're going to just make that from Twilio. All right, create this topic. Cool. Let's go back to our dashboard, create another topic, and this is going to be R2. All right. So now if we jump in, we look at our topics, we can now see we have these two topics. We're going to go ahead and come back here. The ARN is actually how you reference these topics and call to them. We'll be using that code a little bit later. So let's go ahead now and jump back out. The other thing we're going to need is a DynamoDB database. So let's go ahead and create us a DynamoDB database. So Dynamo is a NoSQL database, so it's a non-relational database. So basically all you have to include is the table name and the primary key that you want. So for our table name, we're going to call this one the BoJack tutorial. And our partition key, now this is where it's important. You can make the table name anything you want, but the partition key, make from. From is where Twilio puts the phone number of the person texting you. So that is a primary key. So then you know that anytime this phone number texts, then that's going to be the person who you're talking to. All right, so we got the from. Let's go ahead and click create. Now Amazon's going to create this table for us. So it spins around, should just take a couple minutes. It seems like depending on their servers, it could take longer or shorter amount of time. All right, great, table's created. Okay, now let's jump back. The last thing we need to do to get things kind of prepped for the rest of our work is to create some roles. So go ahead and click on the IAM. Now, what you want to do now is go ahead and go into the roles section. So you see several different resources. So you can come over here into roles and go ahead and create a role. Now, this role here is an AWS service, that is correct, and you actually want it to be a Lambda role, because this is where we're affecting us as our Lambda functions. And then go ahead and go into permissions. Now, for our permissions, we need to do a couple things. So first, we want to be able to get logging. So let's go ahead and go into our logging. And if we see the Amazon CloudWatch logs role, and let's go ahead and give this full access. It needs to be able to create a CloudWatch log and write to it. So in addition to that, we need a couple features here. So we need one Lambda function that's able to push to our simple notification service and have logs, and a different one that needs to be able to read from the notification service and read from the database. So we're going to create a shorter one now. So let's just go to the let's just go to SNS. Let's go full access here. So this will allow this particular role to access CloudWatch and SNS. So we're going to name this our Lambda SNS role. And I've already created this one earlier, so I'm going to make this my Lambda SNS new role, or tutorial role. Okay. And there we go. Allows Lambda Function to enable services. Okay, and also, so this is an SNS role. Create role. Great. So let's create another role and Lambda next. Now this one permissions very much the same. We're going to use the CloudWatch, and then we also want it's probably right in front of me. Okay, there we go. So CloudWatch logs full. We need the SNS like we did last time, SNS full. And this one we also want a Dynamo. This gives us access so this particular Lambda function can read and write to that Dynamo table we created. SNS Dynamo tutorial role. Okay, there we go. This is SNS and Dynamo. Let's get some notes for myself, and as you can see, those are there. Let's create this role. Okay, so we've created our Lambda roles. Now we're ready to actually get some code down. So as I mentioned before, the post that the webhook makes, it goes through the API gateway, and that API gateway calls a Lambda function. So let's just create that very first Lambda function. Okay, I want to create a function. All right, we're going to author it from scratch. and we're going to actually call this one from Twilio post. So this is from the post that comes in, and our roles for this particular one, we can use an existing role. So this is going to be our Lambda SNS tutorial role. It does not need the Dynamo. All we're doing is taking the post and we're putting it into the SNS queue. All right, so we now have our Lambda SNS tutorial role. That's great. Let's go ahead and create our function. Okay. So this section here, the function code, this lets you edit the Node.js code in real time. I like using this for things that you can do it on. There's also ways that you can write this code on your own machine and then use some of the services to upload the code. We'll walk through how you can upload a zip here in a minute, but right now I just like working in this place here. So from the link below, I hope you downloaded the source code, so go ahead and open that up. I've got this broken down into several sections, so right now I'm going to go for the receive from Twilio, and we're just going to take this code and paste it in. So let's just take this code from receive from Twilio, go right into the index and paste that in. Quickly to go through this code, basically what happens is as a post comes in, it takes the data, which is the event, and it puts that event straight on the SNS queue. Now, one of the things you'll notice that the SNS queue is a process environment. So that's an environment variable. So what we need to do now is we need to set up that environment variable. So go ahead and copy the name of that environment variable, come right down below and do the environment variable. Now, this is the from Twilio SNS. So this is that ARN of that SNS topic we created earlier. So what I like to do is come up here on my AWS and open it up in a new tab. Great. Now let me go ahead and go back into my SNS service, go to my topics, and click on my from Twilio. And right here we can see our ARN. So let's copy that, come back to our Lambda function, put that in. Now we've got the environment variable set. So now what's going to happen is when a post comes in, this code is going to take the values that are in that post and it's going to stick it on a message on this SNS queue. And that's all it's going to do. I like doing it this way. It keeps everything broken up into very small functions. So there we go. The code's complete. And we're set. We can now have a Lambda function that has the ability to listen from an API gateway. So let's go ahead and go configure that API gateway. When you enter your API gateway, go ahead and of course click Get Started. What you want to do is create a new API. You can name this API anything you want. I'm going to call mine BoJack Tutorial. API. And I just leave the endpoint as regional for right now. Great. So now, from this screen here, we can add different actions to this. We can actually create resources if you want to have slash methods and do any more. Because of this, we're going to keep it very simple. We're just going to create a method on this. Of course, the method we're going to create is a post. So just go ahead and click the check mark, and we've now created a post object. Now, this post object is going to connect to a Lambda function. Now our Lambda region, as you see right now, we're in the North California region, so we need to go ahead and I think that's going to be US West. Let's just see if that Lambda function is, there we go, it is US West. So make sure, if you're not seeing your Lambda functions when you start typing them in the code complete, go ahead and check your region and make sure all the regions are correct. So we're mapping this post to this Lambda function. That's great. We're going to click Save. And so, okay, we're going to give this permission to talk to it. That's great. Cool. Now we've got a message. So what's going to happen is it reads in, it's going to take the request, it's going to integrate the request, and it's going to send it to a Lambda. It's going to come back. Now there's one more thing we have to do here. I don't like taking the requests as they come in. I like actually modifying the body of the object so it can come in a little cleaner to our Lambda functions. So go ahead, and I'm going to show this again, click Integration Request. In the very bottom, click Body Mapping Templates, and then do Add Body Mapping Template. Now, go back to the code, and you're going to notice right here that we have a API gateway folder, and then there's the body template. So there's a couple pieces. So the content type, this is what you're going to want to paste into the type of body mapping you want. So the content type. So there we are. Click this check mark here. And no, we do not want to secure the integration. We're just going to keep it simple, straightforward. Okay, for the template, go ahead and go back to the code again and copy this object for the template. So this is basically going to take our keys and it's going to cram them into a nice data object, which then has our key value pairs. There we go, click save. Okay, and we now have a body mapping post API. So the very next thing we need to do with our API is we need to go ahead and deploy our API. So go ahead and click on the slash there and click deploy API. Now I like to create a stage, so let's call it a new stage. I like to call my production state prod. You can call it whatever you like, and let's deploy it. Okay, so now, well, it looks like Amazon's not refreshing that right there. There we go. The screen looks a lot better now. So now you can see that we've actually got a slash prod, so that is our URL to invoke. And so you can go down here, and if you click on this post, you can actually see the exact URL you need to invoke the post on. So let's copy this URL, go back to the tab we have our Twilio on, and update that right here. That is our webhook URL. And then save it. And it's going to save for a little while. There we go. It's updated. Now, we've connected that Twilio phone number to our API gateway, which is then connected to our Lambda function. So that's great. So right now, if you were to send a text to the phone number you provided, you would actually get a message object saved in the SNS topic from Twilio. So now what? What do we do with it? Let's go ahead and process that image and see what we can go. Now, to process the image, let's go back to our Lambda functions. And we're going to create a new function. And we're going to call this, let's see if I call this over, yep, process text message. All right. Go back over here. Process text message, we want it to be node 6. On our roles, we do want the existing role, but this one here, we want the Lambda, SNS, and Dynamo tutorial role, or just whichever one you call it. We'll make sure it has both the permissions for the SNS and the Dynamo. Let's create that function. Great. It has been created. So now let's scroll down, go to the code. I've got a section called process text message. Let's go ahead and copy that. And let's paste it back into our viewer here. Now, what this function does is this function actually listens to that from Twilio SNS queue. It takes the message, it brings it in. So the first thing we happen is after it listens to that queue, it takes the message and it gets the phone number. And then it gets the user based off the phone number. So it actually looks up the table and it tries to look up if that user exists in our database. In the process, if the user does not exist in the database, we change our message type to a sign up, and then we insert them into the database, and we reply to them with a message that says, welcome, please reply with your name. And we put that on the to Twilio SNS queue. So now, the user gets that text message, they respond back with their name, they go through this process again, they do have an account, so we jump down here and we say, okay, was the previous status sign up? Oh, okay, it was. So now we're going to change their status to saving the name. We're going to read in the body, because we just texted them, please reply with your name, we're going to assume they replied with their name. So we're going to take that information, we're going to save it as the name, and we're going to save that back to the database. After that's finished, we're going to then go through and actually send them the message we want. So this message to send, and I'm going to include their name in it. So if we look at the top message to send, this particular one, this is the message that Secretariat gave BoJack when he called the show. about when you get sad and how you just need to keep running. So here's the text there. And so I just apply that, and that's what I reply to. You can make this any text you want, of course. And then, if they ever write back, again, on subsequent time, they're not in sign-up mode, we just send them a message. We already know their name. No matter what they send us, we just send them the message with the name we originally saved. So a couple things here are the environment variables. As you can see, we've got the app table name, and we've got the Twilio SNS. The 2 Twilio SNS. So let's go ahead and grab our 2 Twilio SNS. There's our ARN. Put that there. Let's go ahead and jump and get our database name. I want to get it exactly. Pretty sure it was what I had it, but I can always go into the Dynamo and go into my tables. And oh, look, it's BoJack tutorial. Look at that. No. Guess it didn't copy. BoJack tutorial. Okay, so now we've created our 2 environment variables, so those will pull into the code here, which is great. And this will then process and send. So when a text comes in, we now know how to process it and then put the things back on the 2 Twilio SNS queue. So let's go ahead and save that. Great. So that is now saved. So the last piece we need to do is, of course, send messages back to Twilio. So to do that, it is a little bit different because we need to use the Twilio API. So let's go ahead and go back to our, first, sorry about that. We need to connect this Lambda function up to the SNS queue so it knows what to listen for. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up a trigger. So this is SNS, and we click on the SNS, and then down here we configure the triggers. So this triggers from Twilio, which is correct. So anytime a message hits from Twilio, it will run this Lambda function. So let's go ahead and add that. Great. So now let's save it. Perfect. So now anytime something comes in from Twilio, it will call this Lambda function. Okay, let's go create our last Lambda function. All right, we're going to create a function, and this is going to be 2. Or I think I actually like send to Twilio. Okay, and this particular one just needs the SNS role. We don't need to read from the database. Create our function. Okay, and then let's go ahead and set up a trigger. Because we know this is going to have to be coming from there, we actually want an SNS trigger. And this trigger is going to be the 2 Twilio trigger. And so we're going to add that. So now we can save. Perfect. And now we can navigate and jump around. So anytime a message hits the 2 SNS, the 2 topic, it will go to this Lambda function. All right, so now let's go back to the code. Let me show you what we need to do here. So if we took a look at our 2 Twilio Lambda, we can see that in this folder I have an index. I also have a package.json. Well, the reason why is we have this Twilio library. This Twilio library is not provided by Amazon by default, so we cannot use the editor they have to provide it. So we're going to actually need this in Node. So you can also follow the environment in the README. You need to go ahead and install Node.js and either npm or yarn on your local machine to get this to build. So let me go ahead and go into my system here. And this is in my, all right, tutorial. Let me go ahead and go into my send function there. All right. What we got to do here is the first thing you do after you have yarn installed, just write a yarn install. And that's going to have yarn download the packages you need from your package.json. So now you can see in this directory here, we've created a new folder that contains the node modules required for this project. So go ahead and open your Finder or any other file structure you have. Let's go ahead and go into my tutorial, this view here, and go to send to Twilio. Okay, now what we need to do is we just need to zip up these first 3 items. You don't have to worry about the log file. Let's go ahead and compress those. Where's my compress? There it is, compress 3 items. Cool, now I've got archive.zip. Now we go back to Amazon, and we can see here in the code entry type, we can actually choose to upload a zip file. Now one of the features you need to notice here is the handler. Because I named my, my code index.js, and you can see right here, it's actually called index.js. That matches with the handler. If I had another name, you could just change that name here. This is how it knows what to call inside the zip function. So let's go ahead and upload it. And we want to upload the archive. And let's go ahead and save that. So it'll actually do the upload for us. Just takes a little while. While that's going on, please note we're going to have some environment variables. So go ahead and go back to the code. You'll notice that we've got an account SID and an account token. These are the IDs and the secret tokens from Twilio. So let's go ahead and get this ready, and I'll show you where you can find that information. All right, and you can see it did update. It's too large to edit, so you can invoke your function. So it's this way, it just runs directly there. All right, so let's get our account ID and our token. Great. Now from the account ID and token, this you get from Twilio, so go to Twilio and go ahead and go up to your console dashboard. Now in your dashboard, you notice here's your account SID. Let's go back to our Lambda function. And then we click our little I here, and it will show you your number. And you can put that in there. All right, so we can save. Now, we've saved the configuration. So, let's go back and look at our code here. What this code simply does is it listens to the SNS queue, and it parses the message that we sent there. It grabs the body, the to, the from, and then a media URL. If you have one, you can actually attach media to it. We're not going to in this case. And then it sends that message back to Twilio. And based off our account ID and token, Twilio will be happy with us. So now is the test. Let's see if this all works. We kind of put all these pieces into play. So let's go ahead and jump back over here. Let's go to Twilio and be sure to get our phone number here. So let me go back. We can take a look at our phone number. There's our friendly name. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot a text to that phone number. 1, 2, 3, 8, 7, 5, 1, and just say hello, and let's see what happens. All right, I got a message back that said, welcome, please reply with your name. Okay, well, my name is Sean. And I'll have to edit this video in. All right, and we've got a Sean get sat, so it actually processed everything. So one of the things, the last thing you can do to check, if you have problems, if for some reason something didn't work, and you're like, why did I not get a text? What's happened? So start from here. Go into your From Twilio post. And you can go into the monitoring section. And you can actually see that the Lambda function was called. And you can see that if there was any errors or anything, and then you can jump to your logs. Sometimes it takes the logs a little bit to process, so let's see if they've processed yet. Okay, they did process. And you can see the logging out of the function and what happened. And I've got some logging in there, so you can kind of play with that and see the objects. Well, anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have fun creating some text applications of your own. Please let me know if you have any other questions or would like to see any other videos or more in-depth information about this topic. Thanks. Bye.